So, hi everybody. Today in conversation with Kinshuk Sen. Um, let's give him a little introduction here. From backstage at Euphoria concerts to center stage on international theater circuits, Kinshuk Sen is redefining what it means to be a star kid. The son of the pop rock legend, Palash Sen, he's dazzling audience in Come Fall in Love, the DDLJ musical, one show stopping note of all time. Hi, Kinshuk, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How you're in the US? How's it going?
It's great. I'm here to do another show right
Okay,
now. But yeah, we just finished Come Fall in Love's first run in the UK in Manchester, and
okay,
yeah, doing great.
okay. Wow. Thank you for talking to us. We're going to dive straight into the questions now. What made you choose theater over Bollywood or music like your dad?
So I came here, I came to the US a long time ago, about 12 years ago, and I went to UCLA for my graduation. And over there, I was a cognitive science major, and that's what I graduated in. But I started to get into theater a lot because there is a massive theater going culture here in the US, and they really encourage you to do extracurriculars aside from your academics. So I started doing little student theater projects from here and there. I started with Shakespeare, and then we sort of went into musicals. And I swear to God, I think for me, I did not fathom how phenomenal that experience would be to sort of make acting and dancing and singing all meet together on a stage. And I love doing all three. I'm glad I don't have to choose between the three.
Yeah.
And it really is the best experience. I think anybody who's been on stage can really attest to the fact that there's nothing like being on stage performing live. And I love films, and I hope to go back to films in some way, shape, and form. But right now, I think the kind of satisfaction I'm getting from theater is unparalleled.
How did you make the iconic character of Kuljeet your own in the musical? How did that work?
So, Kuljeet is very different in this musical than he was in the film. It's about a
Okay.
complete 180. I mean, he's a Tate Punjabi still, and he's still brash. He's still pretty hyper masculine, but he is the best, most fun guy you will ever meet, which is very different from the film. Um, I think Aditya sir, who obviously directed the original film and directed our musical, and I've worked with him now twice, once in San Diego for this project and now in Manchester. He really had the vision to make Kuljeet not the bad guy. He did not want him to be the villain. He did not want him to be, just someone that the audience doesn't root for. He wanted him to be somebody that the audience actually likes. And with him and our writer, Nell Benjamin, who has written for Mean Girls and for Legally Blonde on Broadway, they really sort of work together to make a phenomenal character like Kuljeet, who I enjoy playing him every single night. I think he's the most fun guy. He doesn't speak the clearest of Queen's English, and he has his ways, and he says some really funny things. But it is somehow such an endearing part to play. Also, growing up in Delhi, I've known these guys my entire life. These boys, down the way boys that you find them everywhere. So when they say something, you're like, why would you say that? But you know, at the core of it, and in their heart, they're just clean-hearted people. And I think this is just my ode to my Punjabi side of the family, which my mother is. My mom is a Punjabi, so I really sort of have done them, have showcased that side of my family on stage, and just enjoyed every moment of it.
How do you balance Broadway and Bollywood styles on stage?
That's a great question. I think honestly, we have one of the best teams out there that helps us do it. Our composers are Vishal and Shekhar, who have written some of the biggest hits in
Yes, yeah,
Bollywood
yeah,
history and world
yeah.
history. I mean, they've outsold some of the biggest acts in the world.
Yep.
And our choreography team is Rob Ashford, who is a Broadway legend, and Shruti Merchant, who has done some of the biggest theater shows in India. So all of them, what they did was basically come together and create phenomenal songs and dance styles that actually married both of them. And even though I have done mostly English theater, actually I've only done English theater. At the core, I'm a Desi. I grew up with Bollywood, so Bollywood will come out somewhere, anywhere where it can. Where it
Hey,
comes
we
to
love
like
Bollywood.
we love Bollywood. I
We
I,
love
I love
Bollywood.
I love Bollywood. I know my father
Yeah.
has a lot of things to say, but for me, I love Bollywood in every way. And I truly think that, the way it has been set up, if you see our pictures, if you see, the excerpts from the show, it is a larger than life production. It is a Bollywood production, even though half our cast is non-Indian. That's a primarily white cast, and half of it is Indian. So we're marrying two cultures together. We have really somehow managed to find a phenomenal middle ground of both, and I think I have to give it up to the creative team for that.
Yeah. Okay. Um, what does the critical praise mean to you after taking the tougher path?
Oh, it means everything. It really, really, truly
Yeah.
does. I think, we as Indians or South Asians, we have come such a long way when it comes to media representation, but somehow we still remain the underdog in lots of spaces, especially when it comes to theater. I think when it comes to theater, people have very high expectations of tradition and legacy and all these things, especially in the UK where theater really began. And it is very hard to crack that system as a Desi person. So to be in a production that is being helmed by some of the biggest names in India, and we're doing it on one of the biggest stages in the West, and then to be acknowledged by phenomenal, what do you call, outlets like The Guardian and The Stage, The Times, people who are notoriously hard on theater
Yeah,
productions, and we've
they are.
gotten
Yeah.
4 stars and 5 stars and 4.5 stars. Like, it has been overwhelming to say the least. And again, the story is about Raj and Simran, as it has always been. But for me, as Kuljeet, to get acknowledgement in these outlets it's been humbling.
How do you think the audience in the UK and the US respond? Do they respond differently to your performance? Is there any relativity? How is it like?
Between the US and the UK?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh, so okay. So the US, I would like to say, we have those stereotypes of small single screen theaters in Delhi or
yeah.
in India where they throw the chiller
Popcorn.
popcorn or corn
Yeah.
at the screen. That's the
Yes.
US. The US
Oh,
is
okay.
basically that. They're
Okay.
ready to throw things at the stage just out of excitement. They hoot, they holler, they laugh. But I will say the UK, which is traditionally a far more, more dignified audience, they had the best time during this show. They were laughing, they were dancing. People come dressed like it's their wedding for the show. That's the
Well,
best part. People are coming in saris and all these beautiful, what do you call, garments for our show. They're taking pictures, although you can't take pictures of the show, but they're taking pictures. They're having just a jolly good time. And I also think, when I spoke to my friends who had already done some UK theater, they were like, the UK theater is a little more reserved. They're not as vocal as the US audience. Not for this show. For this show, they were on their feet. They were dancing our finale, which I'm not going to ruin for people because I hope they get to see it some way and somehow. Our finale is basically just color and dance everywhere. People are on their feet dancing. I'm not even kidding you. And I think that's been an unprecedented thing in any Western theater out there.
that
So it
is so
really
lovely.
is. It's a bash. It really is a bash.
That is so lovely. Do you ever feel pressure to stick to the usual star kid routine in India?
Somehow I did not, and I think that I would have to give that up to my father and my mother. I grew up in Delhi. I didn't grow up in Bombay, so a lot of those circles that could have added pressure, I wasn't around. I was around people whose parents were not in the media, who were not famous. So I grew up very, very normal. I mean, I don't know if that's a
Mango people.
yeah. Just I grew up, not mango people, but like I grew
Yeah,
up
like
without any.
us.
No, I'm a mango person, but I grew up without any pretenses and expectations of anything. Like if Papa was on the radio, yeah, Papa was on the radio because that's his job. He's on the stage, yeah, sure, fine, whatever. I think in his book he very specifically called out one moment in his life when I saw him. I think I was a kid. I was like 5 or 6, and I saw him sign autographs. And I was like, "Why are people taking your autograph?" And he was like, "I'm famous." And I was like, "No, you're not famous. Shah Rukh Khan is famous." And I was like, okay, so clearly that understanding of that my father is a public person did not sit in my head at all, because I grew up very, very normal, truly very, very normal. So that expectation that, I have to even become, or to go into the arts, was that in itself was not there. I got a degree in cognitive science. I worked as a research associate at UCLA for 2.5 years after graduation. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I didn't start my career as an actor till after the pandemic. So I was going the very, straight path. My mother was very excited that I was becoming a scientist because she was a scientist. And then one day I finally was like, Nate, I to have to perform. And she was like, Are yaar, yeah, one performer was enough in the family. We didn't need more. But of course, she's extremely supportive. And so, really, truly, it was not, there was no pressure. And my father is the least pressurizing man. He really is just, there's only been one expectation for me and my sister our whole lives, is that just be good people. That's it. And he's
It's a lot,
maintained that.
actually.
It is a
That's a
lot,
lot to
and
do.
it is a
It's a
lot
lot
to
to do.
do. But
Yeah.
luckily, the way we go about it has not been told to us or not been expected of us, and that I think has been very, depressurizing for me at least.
Yeah. Yeah. I know what you're saying. Um, what were the biggest challenges in building your career from scratch? I mean, technically, you've not had any help.
I have not had any help at all, and I know, people might not necessarily believe that, but I started here. I did a show called In the Heights in LA for the first time. And when I did the show, there was a management company in the audience that took a liking to me and offered me a contract and offered me a sponsorship for my visa. And that's really how I got started. It is hard. It's extremely hard to walk into rooms where you have to prove yourself every single day. And they don't care where you come from, they don't care what's on your resume. They just want to see what you can do in that room. And
Oh, who
yes,
your daddy is.
or who my father is, which honestly,
Yeah.
again, it's in lots of ways, it's great. So Yashraj did not know who my dad was. They did not know who was being
Yeah.
brought in. They found out way after I was already cast. And I remember Vishal Dadlani and our producer Shruti Venkatraman took me to the side and were like, "You're Palash's son? Why did you tell us?" I'm like, "Because nobody's talking about their dad, so why should I talk about mine? It has nothing to do with my employment." So it's been hard, and the question of if it would have been easier in India or not, I don't know. I will never know, because this is the path I chose. But again, yes, the pressures and the downfalls might be harder, but the achievements and the accolades that I've gotten on my own have also been much sweeter, because then I can truly attest to the fact that my success has been just because of myself. Yes, of course, what my parents have done for me, I can never take away. But every room I walk in as Kinshuk Sen, not as anybody else's relative, and that in itself has been very, very fulfilling. So it might take me
Very,
a lot longer to get to where I want to be, but at least my success will be my own.
very liberating, isn't it?
It really is, and I think the biggest thing about being in the West is I don't come with the baggage of being somebody's son. That's also been a massive, massive relief, because there are no negative comparisons, but there are also no
Yeah.
comparisons at all. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. I know
So
what you're saying. Okay. So what's next after Come Fall in Love? More musicals to come? Are we going to see you in Bollywood? What's going to happen?
I actually just flew into the US. I'm doing a new musical here. It's called That Girl. We're at the Eugene O'Neill Theater, and it's such a legendary theater to be a part of, and it's a phenomenal new musical. And I get to play a '70s rock star, which is, I mean, I think I'm doing my father proud. I messaged him
I
immediately.
agree. He is such a rock star. Oh my God. I
I was like,
agree.
I literally texted him. I'm like, Dad, I'm playing you. I'm literally playing you in every way, and he was, of course, superbly ecstatic about it. He's such a dad. He really is. And beyond his persona on stage, he's just such a dad, and he's just giddy about these things, which I love him for. So yeah, this is what I'm here for, and I'm going to be here for some time. After that, I go back to LA for some work, something I hope I can share very soon. But I hope Bollywood is in the offing, and Bollywood news, something I can share soon enough.
Something about rock stars. It's funny you said that because every time I think of Palash Sen, the one thing that always comes to my head is in one of his interviews where he just, he would start singing just randomly, right? And he's so good. Like, he just broke into this song and then he said, I was performing at Durga Puja once at home and I went batshit crazy because it was a rock song I was performing and I just went singing. And then my sister was like, Dada, come down, don't do this
Yeah,
here. Oh my God, this man is such a rock star.
I think, I get that from him on stage. He gets lost on stage.
You can see that.
And
You can see that.
it is so fulfilling. He's been doing this now for 27 years. And
Thank you for making me feel old, but yes,
oh,
true.
no, he's been doing it for 2 years now. He's 25, which means you're 18. No kidding. I'm just,
Of
but
course.
no, he's been doing it for 27 years, and I think to see him go up on stage and for every show to still matter as much as the last, that keeps you going. That is something that,
Energy.
yeah.
Where does his energy come from? My God.
Knock on wood.
Yes. Yes. His energy is amazing.
No, he gets that from the audience. He truly does. I think
Probably, that's true. When you love people like that, it just comes out.
he does, and he really I think really loves his job, and that's
Well,
what
if you're a
really
rock star, it kind of works, no?
I'm
I'm sure it works. I'm so
I hope
sure
it works for many more years.
I hope so too. I, in fact, would love to see him perform again. It's been a while.
Yes, please. I hope we can see that very soon. I'm not sure.
Again.
Yes.
Again. We're going to
Yes.
wait for him to come back.
Yes.
All right. That's all we have the time for today, Kinshuk. You've been lovely. Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
so much.
talking to us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. I
Take care,
appreciate
man.
it.
See